Travel is expensive. Unless you're a backpacker or a hitchhiker, a vacation can cost a lot, especially if paid in one big installment. Some people save for months or even a whole year for their Disney trip, a getaway in Maldives, or a vacation in Europe, deferring the fun and having to plan so far ahead. Luckily, another way to fund your travel has emerged. The Buy Now, Pay Later, or BNPL model that's shown recent growth in the online shopping sphere has gained popularity in travel as well. It allows everyone to get the vacation they want right now without complex budgeting and a long credit approval process, and it might become more prevalent in travel shopping too. Let's talk about how it works, why it keeps growing, and why businesses should consider implementing it. Also called point-of-sale financing, or pay in 4. Buy now, pay later is the ability to pay for a service in smaller installments over a fixed period of time. So, for example, instead of paying $100 up front, you end up paying only $25 at checkout, and then make the rest of the payments within the next 3 weeks. This basically makes a product available to more people, not just those who have funds on hand.
The technology is always improving and the product offers are always improving.
We've talked to Denise Heffron, Managing Director at BNPL provider Uplift, to clear up some things about this payment model.
It's a bit of a modern twist on the traditional lending or way of securing credit.
BNPL is basically a form of digital credit, so users must pass a credit check before being approved for the service. Many BNPL providers run a soft inquiry on a credit report or don't perform a credit check at all. If the customer is approved, they get the product after the first installment and keep repaying the loan in several payments. If they miss the payment, they sometimes have to pay a late fee, but this doesn't stop shoppers from using the service. An expensive electronic device, a piece of furniture, or any other high-value item can become much more affordable when you don't have to pay the whole sum up front. And consumers love it. In fact, 60% of shoppers have previously used that type of service.
There's been an aversion to credit cards and compounding interest, I think. But I think as well, the younger generation, they're very used to this kind of monthly payment model.
The idea of postponed payments has existed for decades and was usually referred to as installment payment plans. They, however, were typically provided by banks and were offered for expensive items like a car. Although BNPL is similar, the technology makes the process of getting approved for credit almost instantaneous, allowing it to be seamlessly integrated into the shopping flow, even for smaller purchases. This model has existed for some time, with the biggest players in the field operating years before the trend caught on. So, what's changed? Why have the world's largest companies like PayPal, Apple, and Amazon been rolling out their BNPL services in the past few years? The number one reason for the current popularity of Buy Now, Pay Later is the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
This morning, big trouble in the skies. The airline industry taking a devastating hit over coronavirus fears.
In 2020, e-commerce sales increased by a whopping 43%. Unable to shop in person due to lockdown, consumers switched to online sales channels to get their goods delivered. To stay afloat, many businesses had to focus on online sales channels, launching their websites, or increasing presence on online marketplaces. And those businesses that already offered online shopping started innovating. In 2020, such brands as Macy's, Sephora, Etsy, H&M, and more signed up with Klarna. The number of app installs for Klarna more than doubled, making it the world's largest BNPL provider. The same year, Shopify partnered with Affirm to power up its deferred payment capabilities. So, after enjoying many months of virtual shopping and discovering how convenient and time-saving it can be, people stuck to the habit even after the pandemic. The BNPL spending has almost doubled between 2021 and 2022, and it's expected to grow even more. The travel industry joined the trend too.
Travel can be expensive. It is something people budget for and plan for. And if you were taking your family on a cruise over Christmas, this is a significant purchase. So I think it helps people sort of treat those travel dreams. And definitely we saw some of that post-COVID with the revenge travel and everybody desperate to get on a plane and go somewhere.
Today, many airlines and online travel agencies partner with a BNPL provider. There are even travel-focused companies like Uplift and Fly Now, Pay Later, designed specifically to book package tours, hotels, flights, and attractions. Moreover, Amadeus found that 75% of consumers are more likely to fund their trip with BNPL compared to 44% who would consider a credit card loan. So, what makes the deferred payment model popular in travel? In the current economic climate, where consumer prices are rising, budgets are stretched thin with housing and grocery costs. That makes it much harder to afford a vacation without saving up for months in advance. For younger generations, though, this is not a valid reason to put their life on hold. The result is that millennials and Gen Zers accept alternative options.
So one thing I've learned is that everybody finances, and they finance for different reasons. But certainly we see a lot of traction with and momentum with the younger generation, particularly Gen Z and millennials. They really like this notion of monthly payments. They pay their Spotify monthly, they pay their Netflix monthly, they pay their gym membership monthly, and so on. So definitely a lot of traction. The highest adoption is with Gen Z and millennials, then followed by Gen X, and the lowest adoption is sort of in the older age groups, boomers and so on. But we do see growth, and growth is predicted across all demographics.
As research suggests, younger travelers are more inclined to use the buy now, pay later services than credit cards. Why? Because it's easier and more convenient. Ordinarily, when applying for a loan or other credit types, consumers must pass a hard credit check. It means that a lender will obtain your full credit report from a credit bureau to make a decision. For example, if you've applied for credit many times in a short time period, the lender might not approve your inquiry, which will drop your credit score substantially. When you choose a BNPL option, a soft credit check is initiated. It doesn't affect your credit score, and approval can be instant.
Just because somebody doesn't have a deep or strong credit profile doesn't mean they're not credit worthy. So I think we sometimes look at other factors in decisioning, and that could open up access to people who had thought they might not be able to get financing or be able to afford a vacation.
Besides, BNPL providers give easier ways to keep track of the upcoming payments with push notifications and user-friendly apps. This way, a payment looks just like another subscription to add to the list along with Netflix or Spotify. Also, some BNPL services don't charge interest or have late fees, which increases customer spending power and helps them travel more often. Okay, so if BNPL is so beneficial to travelers, what's in it for travel businesses, such as airlines, hotels, and more? There are actually many ways how payment in installments can help travel brands. The first reason to integrate BNPL is to decrease your cart abandonment rates. Travel has some of the highest cart abandonment rates not only due to the complex booking process, but also because of unexpected additional charges. For example, cleaning and services fees often get revealed only at checkout, and this disappointment may deter people from concluding the booking. While BNPL doesn't mitigate this problem, it does make purchases look less intimidating and more digestible. Second is increased ancillary purchases. Ancillaries in travel are a popular way to boost revenues, allowing customers to pay for exactly what they need. But whenever customers add something extra to their booking, like more legroom or a beach transfer, the final price quickly rises, making those services instantly less appealing. With BNPL, the upfront cost is significantly decreased, so users are more encouraged to bear additional expenses.
I think this ability to sort of build your vacation as well to suit you, the flexibility and the customization, using BNPL to create the perfect vacation package with, whether it be your add-ons or your seat selection or ordering a meal. So more accessible, more rewarding for people.
Travelers confirm this. According to research by Amadeus, 49% of surveyed global travelers would be more likely to buy airline ancillary services if BNPL was offered. The third advantage to businesses is that BNPL can serve as a buffer against rising prices. The overall cost of travel is at a record high, especially the international kind. Except for domestic airfares, travel expenses are higher for almost every component compared to previous years, which might make people hesitant to purchase. So BNPL pricing can soften the blow and keep customers interested. The fourth benefit of the BNPL model is the continuous customer engagement. Since deferred transactions are spread out across months, businesses have more opportunities to interact with customers and build stronger connections. This is especially highlighted by the fifth advantage, the built-in loyalty programs that exist on BNPL platforms. One of the ways to acquire customers for brands is by displaying your proposition on the BNPL website or app. There, shoppers can view offers and discounts from partnering businesses and earn rewards that can be transformed into more purchases. This is a relatively low-cost consumer acquisition method, especially since the integration is typically operated by the BNPL provider. Speaking of integration, let's finally talk about two main ways businesses integrate BNPL providers. The typical way to accept BNPL payments is by integrating it among other payment options, like credit card or PayPal. This way, customers can see the alternative and consider it when the final price is a bit too high. The merchant is paid the minute the first transaction happens, so there's little risk, and all further transactions happen between the customer and the lender. Depending on the vendor, the commission can be paid either by the merchant or the customer. For example, Klarna charges the business, while Uplift has shoppers paying the interest. There's also a different integration type. BNPL providers usually have apps or websites where shoppers can browse for offers or businesses that support this form of payment. A business can put their deals and portfolio there, allowing customers to pay directly on the third-party platform. This can be a low-cost way to acquire customers and a fairly simple integration option. Both methods are used by many brands. The BNPL presence in travel only keeps growing. Among the latest brands joining the trend are Iberia Airlines, Kayak, and Airbnb. Major travel industry players Amadeus, Sabre, and ARC partnered with BNPL vendors to help their customers easily integrate deferred payment functionality. This will make the adoption of flexible payments even more streamlined until the majority of travel brands accept it as a new norm. It's difficult to say if BNPL will be around forever. Today, the industry is still operating in the mindset of the post-pandemic travel recovery.
The question that many people in the travel industry have been asking is there no end to this revenge? But according to two new reports, it looks like that there very well may be.
Revenge travel, the growth of e-commerce, and inflation play a big part in the popularity of buy now, pay later. And it's not like it doesn't have any downsides. As we already mentioned, BNPL can't reduce your credit score. But in many cases, neither can it help you increase it. By preferring the pay in 4 to credit cards, people can lose the chance to boost their credit score and unlock perks that only a good credit score can give them, like better insurance rates or higher credit limits. Whether there's any impact on your credit score depends on the BNPL provider or the payment option you choose. On top of that, it may be hard to manage multiple loans. A simple approval process and small initial payment may instill false confidence in people. Thinking that they can actually afford those products may lead to big-ticket impulse purchases. They will find it harder to continue making several payments at a time, especially if they've missed one payment and now they need to cover a late fee. Basically, someone can end up with more debt than they can handle. Finally, if the product or service the person received was defective, it may be more complicated to get a refund. Both the merchant to return the product to and the BNPL provider would have to be contacted to agree to stop the recurring payments. Will there be a time when consumers find any of these drawbacks not worth it anymore? Or maybe the model evolves into something different and proposes ways to handle these challenges. Or maybe these disadvantages won't be a deal breaker to most consumers, and the BNPL model becomes a norm. Only time will tell.
One thing is consistent through everything that I see out there is growth is predicted across the board and globally, not just in the US or North America, everywhere. You know, I think a few years ago, we didn't really know. And now this has become a very well adopted, very legitimate and mainstream way to pay.
Let us know if you have any predictions on the future of travel payments. As always, leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.